Good evening, I'm Kyle Clark.
And I'm Jennifer Meckles. A fire burned 2 homes in Centennial today and sent a firefighter to the hospital for heat exhaustion.
A firefighter is expected to be okay. Nobody else was hurt. 9 News reporter Lauren Scafidi is there in that neighborhood near South University in Arapahoe. Lauren?
The people who live in these 2 homes will not be able to sleep in their own bed tonight. The windows are actually getting boarded up right now because there's nothing left of those windows. South Metro Fire tells me that the fire started in between the 2 homes before it eventually spread to both houses.
She's lost pretty much everything.
It's hard to recognize the house that Crystal Murphy has lived across the street from for 7 years. These neighbors are used to lending one another a hand.
We usually go over there and help her when we need to snow blow her driveway and that kind of thing.
But when Crystal wasn't sure what to think when she heard crackling from outside her own living room, she looked out the window.
Saw the fire across the street at this gentleman's house, and so ran outside and called 911. He was trying to fight the fire with a garden hose.
South Metro Fire says the fire started between these 2 homes after one of the homeowners here was burning yard debris.
When firefighters arrived on scene, they realized that the fire had spread to both of those homes. So they quickly pulled multiple hose lines, multiple crews here on scene to work on putting that fire out.
The woman living here in the house on the left did not want to speak to us on camera, but she told me she got out as quickly as she could when she heard her fire alarm.
That's when it started blowing over and finally, caught her house on fire as well.
She only grabbed her cell phone.
She had to come out of the house with no shoes on, so I was able to give her some shoes for the day, and we're going to make sure that we can help take care of her and her family until they can get everything settled with insurance and whatnot.
Neighbors doing what neighbors do best, help.
We just made sure that she was safe, and she stayed at my house for the majority of the day until we were able to contact her family and have them come over to help her.
The woman who lives in the home that's getting boarded up right now says that she doesn't want to leave this neighborhood. She loves this place. She just wants to rebuild exactly where she's at. South Metro says that on days like today, when it's really hot and really windy, it's super important to just be aware of what you have around your house that could potentially set fire. Live in Centennial, Lauren Scafidi, 9 News.
It was hot today. We hit 90 degrees in Denver at the new Central Park weather station, at least, technically 91 out at the airport. And Kathy, we're expecting 90s or close to it all this week.
That's exactly right. And then, Jenny, by the weekend, cooler weather and a return of afternoon showers and storms. We'll take the rain, maybe the lightning, wind, and hail, not so much. The first 91-degree day of the season. The average high this time of year is 80. And we do see the temperatures will soar above average tomorrow. Friday will be the warmest day of the week with only isolated storms to worry about until Saturday. This afternoon, temperatures running way above average, and here we are at 9:03, and it's 81 degrees in Denver, so still very warm out there and dry. Winds have been extremely gusty along the Front Range foothills today, and still pretty gusty around Centennial, Castle Rock, and Monument Hill. We have an air quality alert for high levels of ozone tonight and tomorrow. Those with respiratory issues and are sensitive to poor air quality, please kind of be mindful of the ozone action alert day tomorrow. Big dominant ridge of high pressure will really limit the amount of moisture coming in for thunderstorms for the next couple of days. So the severe weather threat will be kept to a minimum. But for how long? I'll answer that with the extended forecast coming up.
Kathy, thank you. 9 News Investigates has gotten a hold of some videos showing the initial round of interviews with officers and medics after the death of Elijah McClain. When a trio of outside experts reviewed these videos, they concluded something was deeply flawed within the Aurora Police Department at that time.
9 News Investigates reporter Chris Vanderveen explains how those videos from 2019 show how the Elijah McClain investigation went so wrong so early.
You're looking at the first few moments.
You'll have a seat wherever you...
The first few moments of a now infamous investigation.
And your first name?
Randy.
These are the officers and medics who responded.
It is 3:32 a.m. August 25th.
Responded
911, what is the address of the emergency?
To a 911 call.
Hey, stop right there.
Of a man wearing a mask.
I remember thinking I can't see his hands.
Man's name? Elijah McClain.
Pouring sweat, was very hyper-aggressive, certainly not compliant with the officers, and seemed to have strength that was not normal strength.
3 officers, 2 fire paramedics, each interviewed by one Aurora detective, who appeared less interested in what the responders saw and more interested in how they felt.
Were you nervous?
Yeah.
Were you scared?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. So was there fear within you?
Yes, I was.
Okay. Both for your own safety and?
For my safety, the officers on scene, for the suspect's safety.
Okay.
Remember that exchange, says Jonathan Smith.
You get little sense that they cared about knowing exactly what happened.
Because that, he says, is a big reason why this investigation initially went nowhere.
When you watch that video, it's sort of stark how much the officer was not trying to understand what actually happened. It was getting the officer to say the things that he needed him to say in order to justify that force was authorized under the law.
Smith, a former head of special litigation for the U.S. Department of Justice, helped author this report. The city of Aurora commissioned it after the death of McClain in 2019. It concluded the questions asked during these interviews were neither probing nor thorough, adding, at times, questions appeared designed to elicit specific, exonerating, magic language.
If they didn't precisely use the right words to justify the use of force, they were coached to do so by the investigator for major crime.
How did that make you feel?
I was in fear for my life.
Where I thought that the officers on scene were in danger of receiving great bodily harm or being killed.
Okay. How did it make you feel?
I felt like I was in danger.
Those answers, the so-called magic language, helped convince the local district attorney Dave Young to clear everyone involved less than 3 months after McClain's death. In this report, Young wrote, the evidence suggests responders exercised a degree of force they believed necessary to detain McClain and investigate into his possible criminal activity.
That's probably what I would say. I mean,
Okay. At any time did he stop actively resisting you?
honestly, no. I mean, even after we got him handcuffed, he was still fighting us.
What they were doing is collecting just enough so that they could say that the officers had authority to use the force that they used and that the conduct was justified.
Smith says, had Aurora Detective Matt Ingwe asked proper questions, he would have discovered officers grabbed McClain 8 seconds after asking him to stop, a stop that wasn't warranted in the first place because no officer had a specific reason to believe McClain had committed a crime.
He became very combative very quickly, which made us had to escalate.
He would have also discovered the injection of ketamine, an injection state prosecutors now believe led to McClain's death, came many minutes after little to no resistance from McClain. This is how you scuttle an investigation, says Smith, who has helped review the conduct of dozens of law enforcement agencies across the U.S. during the last decade.
I think once the officers heard the initial story, they set about to try to gather the evidence so that they could write a report that said, there's nothing to see here, everything is fine.
Everything is fine. Flawed reasoning that contributed to a flawed investigation.
Emotionally, how did you feel?
Ramped my emotions up.
An opportunity to investigate marked by a desire to exonerate.
What was your
Feelings
or mindset at that time?
I felt he's really trying to hurt me.
Okay.
If he's doing that, he's trying to kill me.
Okay.
Chris Vanderveen, 9 News.
The detective you saw leading those interviews was reassigned to the Major Crime Homicide Unit in November of 2021. It was the same month that Aurora City Council signed off on a legal settlement aimed at reforming the Aurora Police Department following McClain's death. An APD spokesperson said they didn't know if that detective's reassignment had anything to do with the case.
A former DNA scientist at the Colorado Bureau of Investigation admitted to deleting data on purpose. That's according to an internal affairs report obtained by 9 News Investigates. More than 650 cases that Missy Woods worked on during her nearly 30 years with that agency are now under review. This new report details an interview with Woods. In it, she claimed her behavior was limited to cases of sexual assault on adults. It did not occur in other sexual assault, property crimes, or homicide casework. Scientists believe she cut corners in order to be a top producer. And there's now a separate criminal investigation into her actions. If you have a tip for 9 News Investigates, we want to hear from you. Email us at investigates@9news.com.